Today on the Bandrew Says podcast, we will be discussing Sennheiser being acquired, Twitter rolling out a tip jar, and a couple of other things, so go ahead and stick around. Before we start with the main topic, I want to address something very quickly. There is a guitar YouTuber by the name of StevieT or Steve Terrorberry or Steve Terrorberry. It should be Steve Terrorberry, and he should start a cereal company, like some kind of gothic Fruit Loops or something. I don't know. I think that would be neat. Maybe not. Maybe it's dumb. Regardless, Stevie's channel was hacked this last week. All of his content was deleted. The name of his channel was changed. The profile picture was changed, and a Bitcoin scammer started streaming. I believe this lasted for about an hour, and then, as YouTube does, they deleted the channel to ensure that nobody was getting scammed from this live stream. The reason I want to bring this up, I know I talk about this a lot, but I want to remind people, you need to make sure that you have two-factor authentication on your channel, and also be extremely careful about the companies that you attempt to advertise with, because that has happened to a number of people. The channels that come to mind are Front Page Tech and Kevin the Basic Filmmaker. I don't know if this is exactly how it was done, but a shady advertiser will say, hey, we have a VPN that we want you to use. We want you to advertise it, but first you got to check it out. You download the app, then they steal your channel. I'm not saying this is what happened with StevieT. I don't know how his channel was hacked. I just want to take this as a moment to remind people. Secondly, I have seen people talking about how Stevie may have to start over, or how Stevie should have backups of all of his content because it may all be lost. That's not the case. YouTube will reinstate his channel. YouTube has a backup of his channel, and they will reinstate all the content. But that doesn't mean that having a backup of your finalized content is a bad idea. I have backups of all of my final projects. I don't keep the raw video anymore. That would be too data intensive. But having the backup of the finals is a good idea. Having a backup website would be a good idea. I recently started backing up everything to Odyssey, Odyssee. My podcast and my reviews all go up there in case YouTube gets deleted. Not going to happen, but if it does. Another thing I want to advocate for, if you have multiple channels, do not use the same email for all of them. You can have one email and have 50 channels under it. Do not do that, because then if one channel gets deleted or you violate the TOS on one channel, maybe you'll lose access to everything. The approach that I recommend is every single time you want to start a new channel, create a new email, create a new channel, and do that. That way you have separate logins for everything. Is it a pain in the butt? Absolutely. But it will be a little bit more secure. Also, make sure you have 2FA turned on everything, and try to have a physical 2FA token. I don't even know where mine is right now. There's a physical 2FA token, and you won't be able to log into your account unless you have this physical item. Do not use SMS unless it is absolutely essential, unless you have no other options. That's it. I just wanted to use this as a moment to remind people to be extremely secure. And also, Stevie, I hope you get your channel back. And also, I look forward to having your gothic cereal, Steve Terrorberry. Next, let's talk about Sennheiser and their consumer business being acquired. At the beginning of this year, we saw that Sennheiser announced that they were looking for a company to acquire their consumer-focused business. They finally found somebody, and it is Sonova. Sonova is a medical hearing solutions company, so they make hearing aids. And in 2019-2020, they had 3 billion Swiss francs in sales and 500 million francs of profit. So they are a very successful company. This is not going to be a poor fit. I imagine they have plenty of resources to properly adopt and onboard Sennheiser and develop Sennheiser's consumer-focused brand a lot more. To be completely frank, I have no idea what this means for Sennheiser. I don't know how this is going to affect Sennheiser headphones. I can't imagine that the Sonova hearing aids may start to sound a little bit better. They're probably going to take the folks from Sennheiser who have really done a good job developing a good listening experience and try to offer additional features for hearing aid users. And then as far as what Sennheiser may be getting, I don't know what kind of technology goes into hearing aids, but I imagine it is intensive. I have heard a few folks talk about what goes into hearing aids, and they sound technologically advanced. Maybe we'll see some really cool new features being ported over from the medical hearing devices to the consumer-focused headphones and get a really cool set of truly wireless earbuds or something. I don't know. But I think this is a good fit. At least it sounds like it on paper. Of course, they are going to make it sound that way. Sennheiser isn't going to come out and say, oh, gosh darn it, we got bought out by them. Of course, they're not going to say that. So at least it sounds good on paper. And we'll see what happens. If you want the entire press release, I will link that in the episode notes. Next, we have a bit of political news. I am going to try not to be political, but it will be political and people will be mad at me. The news is that Trump's Facebook ban was upheld. If you don't know what happened, I believe around January 6th, I think it may have been the 6th or a couple days after, Trump was banned from Facebook for inciting insurrection, I believe is what they said. So he has been labeled a dangerous person. Facebook has a policy. They don't allow dangerous people on the platform. They banned Trump. And it went through this entire appeal process, and this last week, it was decided that the ban was upheld. Cool, I don't care. If you want, let me know in the comments. Next week, I'll go through the entire appeal procedure or the findings that they published, and we can discuss that more in depth. I don't know why you would, but the entire thing, I just want rules to be enforced equally here. That's all that I care about. If you're going to have rules stating dangerous individuals can't be on Facebook, fine. It's your platform. I don't think anybody should be using it because Facebook sucks a big bag of something, and I don't care. Delete Facebook for all I care. The world will be a better place. I just want rules to be enforced equally. And on that note, I want to go to the conspiracy corner. Welcome back to the Conspiracy Corner. We got a conspiracy, we got a corner, hence the Conspiracy Corner. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. This is very serious. Why are we back in the Conspiracy Corner? It's because, as I mentioned, I think rules ought to be applied evenly for people and for companies. I'm not saying people and companies need to be treated the same, but if there is a rule for a person, it needs to be applied equally to every person. If there are rules for companies, it needs to be applied equally to companies. And when it comes to Facebook, I don't think rules are being applied equally to Facebook. Let me explain what I mean. In January 6th, there was a riot, there was an insurrection, whatever the hell you want to call it, at the capital of the U.S. What happened following that is, yes, Donald Trump was banned from Facebook. That's irrelevant right now. The thing that I want to discuss is Parler was banned from all the app stores. I believe Google and Apple banned them from their app stores. They were removed from AWS, Amazon Web Services, and taken off the internet. The justification behind this deplatforming was that Parler was used to facilitate the organization of this riot. This dangerous event was planned via Parler, and Parler's lack of moderation allowed for that to happen. If I am not mistaken, when the investigation was done into this, it was found that Parler played a minuscule portion of this. They were a minor part of it, but the majority of the planning and organization was done via Facebook. And I don't know about you, maybe I am just a complete idiot. I don't ever remember reading or hearing or seeing anybody advocate for the removal of Facebook from every single app store because Facebook's lack of moderation allowed for the planning and organization of an attempted overthrow of the U.S. government. I saw none of that. And this creates a very dangerous situation, in my opinion, To me, it sounds like extremely anti-competitive behavior for Apple and Google to apply these standards to a startup like Parler and say, I cannot believe that you allowed for this to happen. Your moderation is terrible. You caused this. And then when it comes out that they really were not responsible, but rather it was Facebook, they don't apply those same standards to them. That gives Parler this huge disadvantage over Facebook because Facebook, who has the resources to actually do something about it and does not do anything about it, continues to exist, while the smaller company does not have the opportunity to grow because they allow Facebook to continue to exist on their platform. They are allowing the propagation of these dangerous ideas on their platform, and they are not stomping that out. They are allowing insurrectionists. They are allowing dangerous people like this to continue to exist on their platform by allowing Facebook to continue to be in their app store. That is unacceptable behavior from Apple and Google. And now let's get out of the conspiracy corner because this is stupid. All right, that is it for that news. I'm sure people are really mad at me. Next, let's talk about some Twitter news. Twitter is rolling out a tip jar. That's right. This last week, Twitter announced the launch of a tip jar that you can put on your profile, and I will read this blog post for you. We see you sharing your PayPal link after your tweet goes viral, adding your cash tag to your profile so people can support your work, dropping your Venmo handle on your birthday, or if you just need some extra help, you drive the conversation on Twitter, and we want to make it easier for you to support each other beyond follows, retweets, and likes. Today, we're introducing Tip Jar, a new way for people to send and receive tips. You'll know an account's tip jar is enabled if you see a tip jar icon next to the follow button on their profile page. Tap the icon and you'll see a list of payment services or platforms that the account has enabled. Select whichever payment service or platform you prefer and you'll be taken off Twitter to the selected app where you can show your support in the amount that you choose. The services you can add today include Bandcamp, Cash App, Patreon, PayPal, and Venmo. Twitter takes no cut. On Android, tips can also be sent within Spaces. TipJar is an easy way to support the incredible voices that make up the conversation on Twitter. This is a first step in our work to create new ways for people to receive and show support on Twitter with money. Starting today, everyone using Twitter in English can send tips to applicable accounts on Twitter for iOS and Android. For now, a limited group of people around the world who use Twitter in English can add TipJar to their profile and accept tips. This group includes creators, journalists, experts, and nonprofits. Soon, more people will be able to add TipJar to their profiles and will expand to more languages. We're always looking for your feedback and ways to improve updates like TipJar. Let us know what you think. There are two big takeaways that I got from this post, from this blog. First one being, this is just an integration. Twitter is not processing any payments. They are just allowing you to sync your profiles on payment services to your Twitter account. That's all it is. And secondly, Twitter is taking no cut. Do I think this is going to be effective? Probably not. I don't imagine that when a tweet goes viral, people go and look at the tweeter's profile and say, ooh, we can tip them. I think that's why we see viral tweets have replies to that tweet, because people are not going to go to your profile. They just look at the viral tweet and say, haha, they're very funny. I wonder if anybody said something funny in the replies. Oh, look, a pay link. I also want to know, are those links that people put in their viral tweets, are they effective? Do people actually earn money from that? I have not seen any information about this. I don't know if anybody is willing to share that, but if you have ever had a tweet go viral and you have put your payment link below the viral tweet, let me know if you've actually earned any money. Because I can't imagine anybody saying, oh, that was a funny viral tweet, or wow, very thought-provoking, let me give you money. I can't imagine that actually happening, but it must, otherwise people wouldn't be doing it, right? But that is irrelevant to what we're talking about now. I think this is incredibly smart of Twitter. The reason being, they have not had to do any work. Yet people will view this as monetization via Twitter. Yet Twitter did not develop a payment system. Twitter is not doing anything other than saying, hey, go ahead and put your link here, and we will put this in this little icon that says tip. That's all they're doing. They're not doing anything in the back end, really. They're just saying, hey, put a link to your PayPal here, and then we'll just add a tip jar icon. That's all it is. Yet people will view this as Twitter taking steps to monetize the platform so you can earn money off of tweeting. So good on Twitter for doing this. Very smart business move, because people are going to misinterpret this as Twitter making it so creators can earn a living on Twitter, yet Twitter is doing nothing other than creating a little tip jar icon and saying, link your profile on PayPal and Venmo and Cash App. Absolutely wild. I will link the blog post if you are interested in it, although there's nothing much more to talk about there. Future Bandrew here. I am jumping in because while editing, I thought of something that I have to share. If you are a controversial figure, if you push people's buttons a lot, using this Twitter tip jar may be a terrible idea. The reason I'm saying that is, yes, you are syncing your payment accounts to your Twitter and saying, hey, give me money. But if you are offending people, what is a common occurrence? They attempt to get you depersoned, deplatformed, and get companies to sever ties with you. By syncing all of your payment processors to your Twitter account, you are essentially saying, hey, people who hate me, here is a list of 10 companies that you need to contact and try to get them to cancel and close my accounts. So if you are somebody who is controversial, if you are somebody who ends up ticking a lot of people on Twitter off, maybe do not use this. Go the extra mile. Make people work a little bit more. Yes, it may decrease the number of submissions of payments that you get. But the fact that the people who want to cancel your accounts will have to jump through one additional hoop and you aren't making it extremely easy on them is just a little bit better. So maybe if you are an offensive, a controversial figure, maybe don't use this because you don't want to give the people a list of everybody that they need to contact to sever your revenue streams. Make it a little bit difficult on them. Okay, back to past Bandrew now. And that is it for the news. Let's jump to what you had to say, or what I've been testing. Let's talk about that. Currently, I am on the Neumann U87. I was going to use another microphone because I got it. Unfortunately, it is broken. Hopefully, you will see it next week. I hope to have a replacement because I want to review it this month. We'll see if that can happen, but I am on the U87 today because I wanted to use it. Sue me or don't sue me. Don't do that. Now let's talk about what you had to say. First comment comes from the New World Otter. This is more applicable to live streaming, but a community built around a variety channel is going to be more stable. However, it is much harder to build that community. New World Otter, thank you very much for the comment. First thing I want to say, if the entire restructuring of the global economy and the installation of a new world order, a new government, a one world government was being conducted by otters, I'd be on board with it. It would be the cutest takeover in the history of the world and probably the history of the universe. That would be amazing. Unfortunately, I don't think that's a thing. I don't think otters have opposable thumbs, so I doubt they'd be able to do it. Just my take, but best of luck to you on your takeover, New World Otter. Secondly, I think you're exactly right. The reason I'm agreeing with you that it's more difficult to grow variety content is you are no longer building an audience around a specific topic area, making it much more difficult to grow via search, but you are growing an audience around your personality. It removes this little hack that a lot of people have, myself included, where I have grown an audience around microphones because people are interested in microphones. A lot of people hate my personality, but they'll still watch because I'm providing a service. But if I was building an audience just around my personality, then I would actually have to be a likable person. And that seems incredibly difficult. Not only do you have to draw somebody in with the content that you're making, the topic area, but then you have to convince them that you are such an interesting person that you are so likable, that you are so charismatic, that instead of them doing anything else, they would rather watch you do something. That is a hard sell. That is a very hard sell, and that's why I don't do it, because I don't have that skill. I am not that likable. I am not that interesting. I don't live a life worth somebody watching over doing something themselves. We do see a lot of extremely popular creators and the massive creators, the PewDiePies, the Jacksepticeye's, the iJustines. Those are all personality driven. They have successfully taken that topic that they started with and shifted a number of times to the point where people actually watch them for their personality. And that's the difficult thing. I think that's what separates the small people like myself and the big people like them, the iJustines, the MKBHDs, the Jacksepticeye's, the tens of millions of subs, because they are extremely likable, extremely funny. They live interesting lives. They're just great at what they do. I'm perfectly fine just being this schlub, this guy who talks about microphones. That seems like a nightmare. People actually caring about you and looking at everything you do saying, ooh, that's interesting. I want to be like that. No. Ugh, that sounds terrible. But I agree with you. I think it is extremely difficult to grow a community around you as a person, you as an individual, your personality, your life, as opposed to a topic area. And that's why I enjoy focusing on topic areas, because that I can have off days. I could have a bad personality. And for the most part, it will still be listenable or watchable. Next, we have a comment from Andrew, and he says, on variety channels, I feel like it's important to keep it with the genre. I noticed you uploaded the BSP on Geeks Rising for a while and then created an entire channel for it. It worked very well. However, what if you split certain things up into playlist sections of your channel? It's kind of like how Hulu offers different sub-channels. These are ideas I'm considering for my own content on different channels that I'm trying to get started. Andrew, thank you very much for the comment. The reason why I don't upload everything to a single channel and then have playlists for the different styles or different genres of content is because I would still run into that algorithmic hurdle that is the problem with variety channels. YouTube's algorithm does not look at the performance of playlists and use that to determine how a video is going to be promoted. YouTube's algorithm, when a video is published, pushes the video to a set number of your subscribers. Depending on the click-through rate of that, depending on the completion rate of that video, they will use that information to determine if they push that to more people. So if you make a channel based on video games and you build up that audience for years and years, and then you start uploading the occasional review of a robot vacuum or a microphone, those videos that are completely off the beaten path will likely not get the same click-through rate, and that will tell the YouTube algorithm that your videos are suffering, that they're getting worse, that people do not want to watch them, and then they will distribute the content that people actually subbed for less as well. So even if you have a very organized channel where you have the content broken up into playlists and you treat it like a bunch of different channels, I don't think that would work. Now, if you are suggesting that you create 6 different channels, each one for all of the different content that you make, and then you have the one main channel that you run, on that main channel you have playlists for everything else, absolutely. Do that, because then you have your main channel, it's not getting harmed by the uploading of random content. The other channels, the random content channels, they can develop their audience on their own, but you are also directing people to those channels if they are interested in it by having playlists on your main channel. That is something that I do on Geeks Rising. I don't know if I do that on Podcastage. I know on Podcastage I have so many different playlists, mainly based on what it is. I know I have microphone by budget. I have different types of microphones. I have audio interfaces, FAQs, different series, but it's all related to the actual overarching audio capture idea, I guess. So I agree if you're talking about having a bunch of different channels and having playlists for those channels on your main channel's homepage. If you're saying that, yes. If you're saying upload all the random content to one channel and then create playlists, will that help? I don't think that would at all. Hope that helped. Best of luck, Andrew, on your channels, and rock and roll. Lastly, we have a comment from Michael, and he says, as for monitoring compression, or anything for that matter, I recommend PC users with any audio interface with ASIO support or ASIO support to learn how to use two pieces of software, Voicemeeter and Equalizer APO. Equalizer APO allows you to modify the microphone's input directly on the driver level. Into Voicemeeter, I recommend the variant Potato. You can input all sorts of inputs, for example, the microphone inputs, line inputs, and whatnot. You can even get 3 virtual lines you can split your on-PC sounds into. With this software, you can monitor the modifications you do in Equalizer APO, and you can create multiple mixes you then can send to another or through different outputs. I even configured my DAW controller to work with Voicemeeter. So it's almost like a hardware mixer with 8 inputs and 8 outputs, and all I paid for it was the DAW controller and a software named VAC Virtual Audio Cable to have more virtual audio lines. Granted, it's not as easy to implement and learn as real hardware, but it's free and gets started and very expandable. Michael, thank you very much for the comment. I appreciate you. And I have to say, I have tried using Voicemeeter Banana. I hated it. It was unintuitive. It was not easy to use. It was not fun. And I did not think that it worked very well. But as you mentioned, it is free, and free software is not going to be the best software. You are always going to be able to find better software, but you are going to have to pay for it. It is cheaper than buying hardware. If that's what you want to do, more power to you. I doubt that you are actually able to hear that 0 latency, though. And I think that's one of the things that the guy from last week wanted. He wanted 0 latency monitoring. He wanted to hear it in real time. And if you're running it into your computer, processing it and sending it back out, you're going to have some latency there. I suppose that depends on your computer hardware and your interface and how low that latency is, but you're still going to have some kind of latency there. If it works for you, it works for you. Awesome. Save all the money you can. And I think that's actually going to wrap up for today. I do not feel like doing Ask Bandrew. My head hurts. I want to go do nothing, so I'm going to end the show there. It's a free show. I can end it whenever I want. So until next week, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you. I love you so much. I will talk to you then. Don't be too mad about my conspiracy corner. It's all just a bit. It's all just a joke. Don't take anything I say seriously, okay? God, some people are so gosh darn sensitive. It's a joke. Calm down, baby. Okay, bye.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.